Welcome to episode 287 of the Grip Strip Podcast, the Milestone Makers edition of the Grip Strip Podcast. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host, dealing with the usual inundation of emails from my annoying, obnoxious supervisor who's trying to get me closer to a coronary. But it's a great time watching Thursday night football, going and talking about racing, things that do help me get through the tough days and times. And of course, I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. I'm with my co-host, the iRacing Indy 500 champion, computer genius, a gentleman and a scholar, and someone who'll get to wake up early on Sunday morning to enjoy some uh, British football, and I mean it in the sense that his Jaguars will be playing in London. His name is Joshua Fine. What's going on, man?
I'm doing great, Phil. Yeah, of course. Another week of racing here. With a huge milestone in the Cup Series. But now we got to go to Talladega, of course. But yeah, enjoying some Thursday night football shenanigans with the so-called Ice Pack Bowl, or the Unk Bowl, as some people are saying it here. And yeah, of course, Jags gonna have to wake up and make some. Might have to have a British breakfast. I don't know what that's like, so might have to figure out a way to get some tea and crumpets or something or whatever. Although, yeah, I think there is only one football that's American football, but no. Yeah, throwing the flag there, but yeah, we'll get into it here.
English fry up is the straightforward one, which is basically every meat you can find and just fry up. Have some beans, have some stewed tomatoes, and some toast and fried toast, and really get your cholesterol moving. But even if you don't do that, you can just, of course, you can go to Waffle House and get something similar. To be fair, you can get hash browns smothered and covered and have runny eggs and the like, and you can kind of get the same thing. Speaking of diarrhea and stuff being stuck up people's asses, Dennis Hamlin um, adds to his Hall of Fame resume by winning his 60th career Cup Series race at Las Vegas to lock himself into the championship four in the Cup Series. Was a race that was somewhat straightforward in terms of who was up front and who dominated, but the late race incidents or decisions kind of brought about what we saw. Only 3 cautions for cause. Um, so we'll get into that, and there's another touchdown. At least it wasn't a Jamar Chase. T. Higgins scores a touchdown, so bad interception thrown by Aaron Rodgers in a double coverage, and momentum switch. NFC North or AFC North battle, basically Cincinnati's whole entire season on the line. Oh man, that is some really poor coverage. The So the Bengals win this game, they still have a reason to compete. If they don't, then, which I think I'm kind of rooting for on the off chance the Niners still have a chance. After what was one of the ugliest games I've seen in recent memory out of the 49ers. But and losing Fred Warner in the process. But we'll get into the Cup Series race. We'll also get into Aric Almirola winning the Xfinity, getting the 19 car into the Owners' Championship at Phoenix. News stories that have come out earlier this week or during the day. We'll go over NFL Week 6 for both of our teams. Not a positive day in terms of our actual teams, and fantasy wasn't at least on my end, wasn't much better, I don't think. So we'll get in all that. The Bathurst 1000 was one of the more epic Bathurst 1000s in recent memory. Shocker for a winner. A lot of people who you usually don't expect to make mistakes making mistakes. We'll talk about that in the roundup, along with Petit Le Mans, last race of the 2025 IMSA season. NHRA was at Dallas last week before they take a couple weeks off to go to Vegas. Only 2 races to go in their season after Dallas. Then World Superbikes were in Estoril last week, and they're going to end their season at Jerez this week, the last race for foreseeable future for Toprak Raskat Lioku. World Rally Championship will be doing a Central European Rally, and then MotoGP, Moto2, they've already started the practicing there at Phillip Island in Australia. First practice has already taken place there. We'll make our previews and picks for the Talladega and so Chargers, San Diego. So it'll be in the LA Chargers hosting the Vikings, maybe with possibly with JJ McCarthy back at that point. Tate Fogleman Algorithm comes out of hibernation. Last time for 2025 before it takes a fall and winter solstice of sorts
Hibernation.
before the day, and hibernation before the Daytona 500 and the Daytona triple header. Josh will let us know all things going on iRacing and gaming in the sim segment. NASCAR 25, of course, is out there too, and then we'll call it a day. So let's go over to Las Vegas, the South Point 400. I mean, early in the race, Hamlin had qualified on pole. It was an all JGR front row. Chase Briscoe took the lead early from Hamlin, and then through a cycle of pit stops, lost the lead because of a slow pit stop to William Byron, who then took over. Then after the first caution for a stage break, it was, lap 80? Yeah. Kyle Larson took over the lead, and basically from then on for a good amount of the rest of the day, it was Kyle Larson. He won stage. Byron won stage 1. Larson won stage 2. They led 30 and 50, 184 of the races, 267 laps. Briscoe led 57. And so that was basically the majority of the race. Hamlin did not get a good start, and then, oh boy. But in the end, 4 tires stop. There was a late caution that saw a bunch of teams. Was around the lap 246 caution, so that was 20 some odd to go. Briscoe was amongst the teams that went for 2 tires. He had hit the wall. He had a little damage. He's fallen back. Went for track position. Joey Logano was another one that was nowhere most of the day. Did the same thing. Hamlin went the other way. Went for 4 tires, and with issues there late in the race. The lap 237 caution was when they all pitted. Then there was a multi-car incident after that. So then it was the last 14 laps under green flag, and that's when Hamlin ended up going out there getting the job done. Hamlin with a 60th career win, his what was it called? Where his 60th, yeah. Was it his 5th win of this year, right?
And a 6th win for Hamlin.
6th win this year. All right, thank you. And so, yeah, and he gets himself locked in the final 4. Larson ends up 2nd, Bell 3rd in a photo finish with teammate Chase Briscoe, Tyler Reddick 5th, giving Toyotas 4 out of the top 5. Joey Logano 6th. Alex Bowman had one of the fastest cars. Of course, all the Hendrick cars, 3 of the 4 Hendrick cars were really fast. Kyle Busch was absolutely nowhere for most of the day and somehow finished 8th. Brian Priest 9th, Brad Keselowski from 34th to 10th. Buscher was 12th, so all the Roush cars right there. Gumby Cindric 11th. Noah Gragson was 13th. Richard was 14th. Clyde was a lap down to come back from that, finished 18th. Bubba Wallace was led a few laps, was up front early in the day, ended up 22nd. Yeah, Byron, who got destroyed. Wow, that's a number on her, but Byron, who got destroyed, running the low line, trying to race with around Ty Dillon, who was well off the pace, and then in the process, got the spotter fired, which I guess we'll talk about in a little bit. But Byron loses out on what would have been a huge day for him points wise. And then Ryan Blaney blows a tire and hits the fence early in the race, loses a lot of points, and it seems to be a consistent trend for Blaney every single year in the round of 8, having some sort of turmoil at Las Vegas, and then being in a position where he has to go to 2 of his best racetracks and probably win. He's won Martinsville the last 2 years. Talladega is one of his best tracks. So you look at that, and I mean, there's a lot of angles we can, but I guess the first one is for all the stuff going on with Denny Hamlin, his father's ill, the lawsuit, being the best driver, arguably, that's never won a championship. All these different storylines you can take, but 60 career wins, tied for 10th all time with Kevin Harvick. And yeah, I mean, it's not like there was any doubt that he was going to the Hall of Fame or whatever he does. I think he's gonna. That's not an issue. I think it's more of a case of, can he finally close? And the decisions that Chris Gale has made this year, and the energy, even after what was a pretty terrible round of 12 for the 11 team, to come out, they didn't have the outright pace. They lost the lead early and were never really a factor to get the lead back. But they were able to strategize their way to a win, which in the past, in these kind of spots with some of his other crew chiefs and with Denny, he hasn't been able to do. And now, whatever it is, why it is, Denny went out there and got the job done. He tore my heart out with 6 to go, and he passed Briscoe and took off, because I was like, that was the chance right there to get into the final 4, not have to sweat the next 2 weeks. But Denny Hamlin's been one of the better drivers all year. You don't win 6 races by accident. And now he gets to give himself a chance, 2 weeks to prepare, 3 weeks to prepare for Phoenix, to finally get that elusive Cup Series championship, Josh. And I mean, showing why at age 44 he might be as good or better than he's ever been.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like there's been a different Denny Hamlin this year. Just like his focus, his mentality. I think once like the possibility of a 60th win began to be on the horizon, I think we've seen a really determined Denny Hamlin try to get that 60th win. Obviously, rough round of 12 at Kansas, right? But I think part of that, with Kansas, how that race ended up playing out, there was a bit of, I don't want to say desperation, but certainly a drive to get that 60th win by whatever means necessary, at least in that instance. But now here at Las Vegas, 60th win for Denny Hamlin, of course. Late race restart. They had a good car on the short runs. Obviously, that caution with William Byron and Ty Dillon and John Hunter Nemechek changed the complexion of the race there, because it was definitely going to be one of the Hendrick cars, I think, that could have won that race had it stayed green. But all the cautions lead to 4-tire stop for Denny Hamlin, of course. Him, Kyle Larson up front with 4 tires, and then of course Chase Briscoe 2 tires, Joey Logano 2 tires there. But on the short run there, Denny Hamlin just had a massive run off the first couple laps of the restart, and then I think was able to kind of take advantage of Kyle Larson there at the end, because Larson is attempting to pass Chase Briscoe at the end, but then also trying to defend Denny Hamlin from passing him, and kind of being at a disadvantage there. I think Denny could just, go all out, do whatever he wanted there, use the top line in turn 3 and 4 to get a run and get around Larson there in turn 1 and 2, and then from then on able to go out and chase down Chase Briscoe and get by him with 2 laps to go there. So it was a huge win for Denny, of course. Now, and certainly the only thing missing from his resume is a championship, and now with this win, that gives him the ability to focus on Phoenix. Now they've got Talladega this week, of course, Martinsville next week, but the opportunity to go to Talladega or to Phoenix with those 2 weeks to prepare, I think is pretty huge for a driver like Denny Hamlin. Of course, he talked about on his show needing to go back to his hauler after the driver's meeting to go over last minute prep. And obviously, I think, whatever field you're in, if there's something that is in the back of your mind, right, and you're trying to do some kind of task, right, but there's like something in the back of your mind that's just like, forgot about this scenario or something like that, I really need this, definitely gives you some kind of anxiety and definitely throws you off your game, and you're not prepared for that moment. And I think, for Denny, obviously, whatever that was, that time that he needed to be prepared definitely helped him, certainly in this race, to go out there and win and qualify himself for the championship 4. So we'll see if he's able to do that here in Phoenix in a couple of weeks. But for Denny, of course, lots of things going on, obviously, mainly, his his dad's health, obviously been on his mind for a while now. Of course, if you go back to, I think the NASCAR Full Speed documentary, where that's been documented since then. So it's been a few years now where this has kind of been known. So that's obviously weighed a lot on Denny, of course, but also the lawsuit, of course, this year is definitely probably, at least certainly a, mental toll on Denny, of course, because, that side of his career could be up on the line depending on how that result goes. But then also trying to go for 60. Obviously, he's already made it well known that he thinks he only has about 2 years left of full time racing. So obviously the time to win a championship is now for Denny Hamlin, and this certainly is one step closer to being able to achieve that.
And it's proven to be a big deal to win this race. Joey Logano is utilize this as a catapult to win 2 championships. I mean, I think for Denny, especially with his history and track record, not getting through this race or getting through this race in a plus position is might be more advantageous than it might be for others, just based on his history. But if it isn't for that, with everything going on in his life, to kind of clear the plate, give himself 3 weeks to kind of set things up, try to see if he can get his family, get his whole family over there, build it up to whatever, um, and see what can happen. Because I remember 2010 when he had a chance, and that was his first real opportunity to win the championship, and it was Phoenix, the next to last race at that point of the year, where they probably spit the bit. They definitely spit the bit and gave up an opportunity where they lost a lot of points to Jimmy Johnson, who then the next week, when Denny Hamlin and Mike Ford at that point was his crew chief, spit the bit in that race, had issues with the car and all that, proceeded to assist in handing Jimmy Johnson uh, fifth consecutive Cup Series championship at that point. But then that was the first time of what has been many years and many opportunities that have gone by the wayside for Denny Hamlin. Um, he's had to watch Kyle Busch go and fade, not being a closer and then winning 2 championships. He's seen Matt Kenseth go in there, lose a championship, when he had a chance against Jimmy Johnson. Truex, also. Justin Chris Bell, now in more recent years, having chances, but not to the level that I would say like Denny Hamlin or Kyle Busch or whatever would have had. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, uh, it's Talladega's going to be. I wonder. I mean, he wants to win. I think he would want to win all the races, but I wonder how, if he were to go out and like run full force, let's just say, to try and run this thing out, um, is it more of an advantage for him to isolate 200 guys in the 5 and the 24, or would it be better for him if some other guys that are in the playoff, or maybe a non-playoff guy, gets a victory too, and he helps a non-playoff guy get a win, especially this weekend? But I don't think that'll be an issue at Martinsville. I think a playoff guy will win at Martinsville no matter what, but we'll see what happens with that. I mean, the other story, of course, was Blaney having issues again at a 1.5 mile racetrack, with tires and strategy. They were talking about how the Penske team, the 4-car Penske effort, which includes a 21, they basically had split off to where the 12 was working with the 21, I believe, and then the 22 was working with the 2, or whichever it wanted. And the 21 was nowhere. The 2-car was up front initially. I think in qualifying they had qualifying, or no, they were nowhere in qualifying, and then they were able to make something of it in the race, for Gumby Cindric. And then Byron, which, I mean, they kept on replaying it over and over again with Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon didn't go and put a hand out. They were probably 30 laps down. I don't know what the hell, however many laps down. The car's dog crap. He said it as such. He didn't put his hand out. His argument was he told the spotter, or the spotter said that he had told the spotter Brandon Lines, for Byron, that they were coming in. Now, in terms of Ty Dillon and the way he was coming into the pits, there was no real notification or thing that he was going in. Then on top of it, he was slightly higher on the line, maybe about, I guess, a foot off the white line. And I mean, I know for you, Josh, in terms of driving in the sim, there's probably certain protocols you'll get on the radio, or you'll do an all chat and say pitting or whatever it is. I don't think Ty Dillon helped himself by any means the way he handled his end of it. But then you add the fact that supposedly the spotter said that he had told the 24 spotter, and then in turn, I don't know if there's audio. I'm sure that's been played, whether it's on NASCAR radio or somewhere, where they found the radio for Ty Dillon, but it affected the race. And now in the term, I mean, the thing for Byron is he could go out there and win one of these next two races. He's won at Martinsville. He's won 2 consecutive Daytona 500. I think he's won at Talladega. Maybe if he hadn't, he's been close. So the notion is he can go out there and win. Is it hard? Yes. Same thing for Ryan Blaney. But it's not a good situation for either of those guys. Heading into Talladega, knowing that they're up against it. Joey Logano's in the same spot. Basically, an Elliott. I think it makes Talladega one of the more interesting Talladega races in recent memory, because you have these big-time guys under duress, and the strat that they might have to play, focusing on stage points versus, track, it is definitely going to affect things, I would say. But what are your thoughts on that in terms of what happened to those guys and what they might have to do moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that caution affected the race in a lot of ways too. Not only for the winners, but guys who were having good runs on the day. Example like Shane Van Gisbergen, who was running top 10 again and starting to figure out the ovals, right? But subsequent caution after that William Byron crash caught up in a big one in turn 1 and 2 on the restart. So definitely took away from his race there as well. So yeah, definitely affected, but not only that race, but it also, yes, affected the championship as well. And certainly, yeah, we're debating, of course, right now the championship playoff elimination format versus the full season 36, right? And I mean, even in that format, that would have definitely created a lot of drama there. But yeah, for Byron, who had just lost the lead to Kyle Larson, NBC showing him losing the lead and then cutting to the crash happening, or just after that, and Byron's in it. He's out of the race. Of course, Kyle Larson was in the lead there, so that definitely we could actually be talking about if had that not happened, the miscoordination there with the 10 car and the 24 spotter. Could be talking about Kyle Larson today, winning and him etching himself into the Final Four, and Denny still needing to figure out a way to win here at Talladega or at Martinsville in his home state. So there's certainly that possibility too, but there could have been other things that could have affected the race too. So but certainly, yeah, that was a catalyst of an incident there. And it also kind of reminds me from a crash standpoint, Mark Martin at Lowe's Motor Speedway back in 2006 with JJ Alien hitting the wall head on like that on turn 4 with Yaley just suddenly trying to pit, and Mark Martin, I think that did affect his championship in 2006 as well, because he got taken out of that race which that was about the midpoint of the 2006 chase right there. So that was what I kind of thought of there. like that. But yeah, for Ryan Blaney, of course. I mean, and same with Byron. They both can win Talladega. They both can win Martinsville. They've both proven it. But of course, being on the outside now, I mean, I think for both of them, I think for especially for not Byron, but for Ryan Blaney, they basically racing with nothing to lose now. I think Byron, you still have to be kind of careful because you're not like that far outside of the playoff field, but for Blaney's in last place now for the cutoff. Now just go out there and try to make something happen on Sunday. So yeah, especially at Talladega, he's been good at there before. He's won many times in the past, and certainly like we saw 2023 that helped him get to the championship. Last lap pass on Kevin Harvick to make it into the next round. So yeah, for Blaney, I mean, he's probably the favorite this weekend when you look at it in terms of that. So I don't know if it changes his mentality, but certainly there will be a I guess urgency to get to the end there, to make it to have an opportunity to have a chance at the championship for there. So yeah, those two guys have a opportunity. I think Joey Logano as well, and Chase Elliott, who's won here at Talladega. So you got guys that are former Talladega winners here on the outside, or Daytona winners on the outside of the championship four here, that could have an opportunity potentially to perhaps win or have a really good finish this Sunday at Talladega.
Yeah, it's something we're going to have to look at for sure for those guys and the points as we move forward, which we'll get to right now. The points there. So, yes, so Hamlin in, overall point leader by 4 over Larson. Larson's plus 35 over the cut line. Christopher Bell's plus 20, and Chase Briscoe's plus 15 over William Byron. Elliott minus 23, Logano minus 24, Blaney minus 31. So that's with 2 races to go here in this round of 8. Move over to the Xfinity. The Focused Health 302 at Las Vegas, which was basically a 4-driver affair. You had the eventual winner, top 3. Aric Almirola won both stages, led the most laps. Got a clean sweep of points, maxed out. Connor Zilic, second and third in stages, led 34 laps, finished second. Justin Allgaier started on pole, finished fourth in both stages, finished third. Corey Day, with his best career finish in a Xfinity car, finished fourth for the Hendrick 17. And Nick Sanchez, who his rivalry with Jesse Love continues. Nick Sanchez gets a top 5. Good run for them, and the Borchetta team, the what do they call, Big Machine team, and then Jesse Love was 6th, finished 3rd and 2nd in the stages, led 22 laps. In terms of playoff drivers, the mentioned 4 of them, Sam Mayer was 9th, Hank Hill was 10th, Creed 11th, Buckshot Jones was 13th after starting 3rd, Quapple was 15th after starting 9th, Sammy Smith finished 20th. So that is, yeah, I mean, in the end, Aric Almirola, there's only 4 cautions, 2 for cause, 1 for debris, 1 for a spin for what the hell is his name? Gene Thompson. But I mean, domination. The 19 with Almirola has been fast every time he's been in the car, since he switched back to the Xfinity Series. The two best cars this season in the 88 and the 7 were up front, led a bunch of laps. Jesse Love actually being up there on a cookie cutter track is different, but he did what he had to do. But for Aric Almirola and Gibbs, they're running for that Xfinity Owners Championship, and they've given themselves, similar to Denny Hamlin, 3 weeks to prepare for Phoenix, which over the years has been a great track for Gibbs. And they've gotten plenty of wins there with plenty of drivers. So it's a advantageous spot for Aric Almirola, possibly go and celebrate a championship, at least an owner's championship, come Phoenix.
Yeah, for this championship here, obviously, Connor Zilic, he had an opportunity to win this race here, especially late in the going, but just didn't seem like he had the handle as good as Aric Almirola there. And of course, they got together there at the very end. So, yeah, for the 19, of course, it's another race win, and we're gonna get a kind of a interesting look of a championship here, because there's going to be now technically 2 championships to be fighting for here with the Drivers' Championship, which most people will be caring about, of course, and then also the Owners' Championship with the 19 a factor there. So that will actually throw a wrinkle into the race here for your Xfinity when they get to Phoenix, because that'll definitely be a factor, especially if they have somebody like Aric Almirola racing there, who did win at Phoenix in the spring. But for this race, of course, he was up front a ton here in this event, and then Zilic there had an opportunity at the end, racing against him and Jesse Love there at the end. Of course, for Zilic, potential 10th win on the line, but unable to achieve that here at Las Vegas. But same time for him, this is 18th top 5 in a row since he got injured at Talladega. So just the amount of finishes that he's been able to put up in the top 5 shows why he should be the championship favorite in the Drivers' Championship. Certainly, probably in the Owners' Championship as well. In the Xfinity Series. So yeah, great finish for him, of course. Allgaier right there, right behind him, also led laps, of course. And then, for the rest of the field, obviously Jesse Love, who had words with Nick Sanchez after the race. He was up there. So, this was definitely a fairly interesting race to watch there, even with it being in with Zilic's dominance and the 19 having a better race than everybody, as a spoiler there, kind of, to the Drivers' Championship. But for the rest of everybody else, Sanchez could have had an opportunity. Well, no, he couldn't, but certainly opportunity for a good showing. I think guys like Carson Kvapil they're definitely going to have to make something happen at Talladega. Sheldon Creed, another guy that has had relative success on the super speedways, obviously hasn't won yet. So those guys still need to have an opportunity to win here. So yeah, it should be interesting here to watch all this play out here in the final round before the championship four. So for Zilic, of course, still continue to pad that lead going into Talladega, and then Martinsville, of course, and then of course Phoenix. So yeah, we'll see. I guess how the rest of these next 2 races pan out, of course. And I guess for Connor Zilic, I guess kind of circling back to where this run that he's been on since Talladega, where he got injured originally. I guess coming back here to Talladega, and perhaps could be a potential contender there. Obviously, the 88s won the last Speedway race at Daytona with Parker, aka Connor Zilic, behind the wheel there. So should be interesting to watch.
Yeah, and that is the last time they didn't finish in the top 10 of a race. Or, I mean, I know the top 5 streak is one thing, but I think that's the last time they didn't have finished in the top 10 for sure. When Jesse Love sent his boy into the fence and into the hospital for the first time since Zilic has been in the hospital multiple times this year. So they're looking to do what they need to do there, possibly to go and get a win. Points wise, if they score stage points, both him and Allgaier, I think they're both going to lock in. So in that sense, there will be 2 spots available. Probably be by the end of stage 2, there will only be 2 spots available to make it in after that anyway. And they've earned that with their performance this year across the majority of the season. Go back to the points, and yeah, I mean, Zilic plus 82, Allgaier plus 44. It's not as easy for Allgaier, but, there's a pretty good chance for him. Jesse Love's plus 20, Sam Mayer's plus 8 over Buckshot Jones, who's done very well at Martinsville and Phoenix over the years. Creed minus 21, Quapple minus 22, Sammy Smith minus 24. Sammy Smith won this race last year. So, or a couple of years ago, one of them years he did. Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. With at Talladega. In terms of news of the week, Jim Pullman was announced earlier today on Thursday that he will be moving up to the Cup Series after spending the last few years with his buddy Justin Allgaier in the Xfinity Series. So that'll be an interesting move for him to go to Kyle Busch and RCR to work on the 8 car in the Cup Series. So that's a big move. Curious as to who Allgaier will have. Maybe Andrew Overstreet. I mean, we don't know what the whole layout's going to be. Marty Lindley and the 88 team, maybe they keep that whole thing together to run the limited schedule or run the split, what is currently a split ride between Zilic and Carson Quapple for next year. So to be determined. That's a big news item that came out earlier today. And then also Brendan Butterbean Queen, who's been running for Colleague Racing and is going to finish out the season after winning his ARCA championship earlier a couple weeks ago. After winning 8 races, is going to be the first driver for the Ram Colleague Ram program. So he's the anchor driver for that program. So that'll be interesting to see how that all works out. But Butterbean Queen moving up to the Truck Series. He made his debut in the Truck Series at North Wilkesboro last year and did really well for Tricon. He's been running a similar type of vehicle in ARCA in a lot of ways, and he did very well. And you'd assume Colleague's going to be able to hire some really good people. So we'll see what happens with that. And then Justin Haley agreed to, and Spire agreed to part ways at the end of 2025, opening up a seat. It's been in the rumor mill for months that Haley was probably going to be out of that ride. When you look at the productivity, my God, Jamar Chase is open every freaking play. The relative productivity of the 77 with Hocevar, you look at McDowell, who's come into the organization this year and has performed at times. And then you look at the 7 car, which has not performed. They got rid of Corey LaJoy last year after years of general lack of performance. And then, of course, Hocevar being there. And now Hocevar's better. And then you add Michael McDowell. And we'll see what happens with the 7. I mean, Josh, I get your thoughts on all 3 of these points. But I mean, I think it's basically angling towards Suarez, unless there's somebody else that brings a budget, or like Buckshot Jones, or someone that brings money. I would think that this is Daniel Suarez making a pseudo lateral move, relative to what Trackhouse is. Oh boy, yeah. But I think for the PR aspect of it, I know that Supbuyer probably wants to do that. For Suarez to keep a ride. That's another thing. I mean, I would also venture to believe that JRM, if you're telling me that he could go to JRM and compete for a championship, or he drive the Spire 7 car, I think that's a hard decision. It's a much harder decision. But we'll see, I guess. But yeah, what were your thoughts on all those news items, like with Pullman moving up the Cup, to take over what has been coming into what has been arguably Kyle Busch's worst season of his Hall of Fame career, legendary career, and then Butterbean being the lead dog at Colleague in the Truck Series.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, starting off, yeah, with Pullman moving up to Cup. I mean, on one hand, yeah, Justin Allgaier, of course, has been paired up with him for quite a while now. So I think, for Allgaier, if he's going to continue in the Xfinity Series, obviously that's, a loss for him. But at the same time, Dale Jr. kind of designed Junior Motorsports to be a place where guys move up and get promoted up into the Cup Series and get that opportunity. And obviously, Jim Pullman's won a championship, won several races with Justin Allgaier in the Xfinity Series, and I think it's definitely a good opportunity for him to go up to the Cup Series with one of the legendary drivers in that series with Kyle Busch, and try to get Kyle Busch back on track, get him back into victory lane. Obviously has not had that opportunity in the last 2 seasons now. And get him back to his winning ways there. So, but we'll look to see if that's able to happen, and if they can get whatever's missing that Kyle Busch has lacked in since 2023, his last win at Gateway in the 8 car there. So obviously he struggled in the next gen car, and hopefully this pairing with Jim Pullman gets him back to where he was in his prime, I guess, with Joe Gibbs Racing, and I guess that first season with RCR there in that 8 car. And then I guess, yeah, for Justin Haley going to the 7 or leaving the 7, and potentially maybe that could be an opportunity for a guy like Daniel Suarez. Definitely could provide stability to that car, certainly make it competitive at certain tracks where Suarez has ran well at and everything. And, also I think definitely give him a chance to parlay that into a better ride. I mean, I think the 7, of course, is underperformed, especially when you compare him to Carson Hocevar. Carson's done really well here and has had opportunities where he was up front, where we really haven't seen that from Justin Haley. So could be a good opportunity as well for Carson if they pair him up with Daniel Suarez and have him, be with certainly a guy who's been in the series, since 2017, has been around, bounced around, and certainly has a veteran presence that I guess for Hocevar, I guess, he's definitely had his share of run-ins there, so definitely could be some veteran leadership there, of course. But also I think for Suarez, definitely gives him a chance to prove himself once again. I mean, he's done it before. Remember his run in the 96 car before he went to the 99 car, where he ran that the whole year and was able to kind of prove he could show what he could do in lower tiered equipment. So we'll see if he can do kind of the same thing here if he goes to that 7 car. Or potentially, I mean, obviously you said he could go to the 9 car for Xfinity. We've talked about that. That's also an opportunity. We've shown he can still win, of course, like he did at Mexico City earlier this year. So definitely, yeah, I think that's certainly a possibility as well. And yeah, for Butterbean Queen going to the Truck Series with Collie and Ram, I mean, I guess, yeah, it's a pretty predictable there to say the least. I mean, I think it's definitely time for Brandon Queen to be in the Truck Series full time, and it's definitely an opportunity with Colleague, and definitely gonna have a lot of support with Ram. I think could be some growing pains earlier in the year with Ram and Colleague being a new team, but I think a driver like Butterbean, who's cut his teeth on short tracks in the Cars Tour and in the ARCA Series, I think it's definitely a guy that they can lean on to, I guess, be the anchor for this new truck group going forward here for the next couple of years as he tries to build his way up potentially into an Xfinity ride, or potentially even into a future Cup ride there. So yeah, definitely interested to see how that opportunity turns out next year.
And plenty more to be announced between now and probably the end of the year in terms of drivers, crew chiefs, and sponsors for that Truck Series effort. Of course, you look at Dorsport is one team. Of course, they've already announced Crafton's retiring, and that you're going to have Ty Majeski moving over to that truck. They'll probably just move everything. They'll just switch out whatever, and it'll be the 88 Menards truck. But then you have to replace Majeski in that truck, and you're probably going to be looking for someone with a budget or something like that, or so there's going to be a lot of changeover in the Truck Series. Corey Heim isn't going to be full time. I don't think he's continuing the Truck Series full time for another year. I figure if he's going full time anywhere, it'll probably be in an Xfinity car. If TRD actually knew what was good for them, that's what they would do. Put him for Sam Hunt or some other team. Or if Ford knew what was good for them, they'd go and sign him and tell Penske to go and start an Xfinity program again. But that's a whole other deal. Yeah, and then Butterbean not going, and or that, what's it called? You have Caden Honeycutt's going to move over basically into that 11 truck, I think, next year. So, I mean, you have two great late model guys, current top late model guys in prime vehicles in the Truck Series. So there might actually be a little bit more intrigue now in the Truck Series to get around the fact that they have god awful coverage and announcing there. All right, so we'll get into week 6 NFL, even though it's the start of week 7 already. Bring up why the heck? Okay, so we have the NFL there. So, oh man, Ugh. Yeah, Spencer, talking Spencer Rattler, huh? The week before, trying to go through schedule. Go to week 6. Yeah, and the Giants destroy the Eagles on Thursday night previous week. The Jets and Broncos setting professional football back a few years with whatever the hell they did there. On the Ravens finally benching Cooper Rush. I'd like Eric DeCosta to explain why they thought picking up Cooper Rush as a backup was the right idea instead of just going with Snoop Huntley. Panthers going and beating the Cowgirls. Rico Dowdle putting one on his former team. The Colts going to 5-1. Much to the chagrin, I know, of you, Josh. Also having the Seahawks going in a Duval and being able to get that victory. Kind of not the most ideal of performances for your squad there. And I can't say anything. The Niners tried to fight, stay alive, but essentially Fred Warner got fucked up, got his right ankle fucked up, and that was basically it because Mac Jones was under duress all day. Um, like you know, like Tom Brady, like Peyton Manning, like anybody who's under duress, they get happy feet and then they make really bad decisions. And he turned the ball over, and it's a second loss this year. And in both of those losses, they lost a turnover battle. They hadn't forced a turnover or hadn't forced an interception in a long time. They finally got one of those, but um, you know, yeah, the Buccaneers were just a better team. They lost their number one receiver in Ibuka. So they were throwing the guys that were working at Walmart last week, and they were beating the Niners secondary. Um, Lack of a pass rush, lack of the leader in the middle. The secondary was just straight trash, especially at the safety position. And can't win that way. The offensive line, every single one of them guys are a turnstile. So it's like, what's the difference? If you're going to go to the mall, then what do you expect people like Vita Vea to do? 850-pound Vita Vea freaking's gonna go, and if he ain't gonna run you over, and that's essentially what he did. And then other guys that they have on that defensive line were just feasting. And then Jawan Jennings, proving this whole diva wide receiver, I'm going to sit out bullshit that's been going on for the last 3 years with the 49ers. First it was Deebo Samuels, as Mike Robb likes to call him. And then he ceased to be a relevant player. Now he goes to the Washington General Redskin Commanders, and now he's kind of back to being something. Yeah, Brandon Ayuk, who still hasn't come back from an injury, but he went and threw a bitch fit, and we saw how well that worked out. And now you have Jawan Jennings, who's allergic to the football. Then Dan was trying to say, "Oh, I have all these injuries," and Trent Williams piped up from back. He's like, "Dude, all of us are dealing with injuries." So if you want to talk about somebody that is not well liked or um, dealing with the reality of what he asked for, you got your money or you got whatever, and then now you're being asked to show up as a number one receiver. You can't do it. And that's a problem. So, and it's just a comprehensive. Wasn't I honestly Jacksonville gave us a greater beatdown, but Tampa Bay is a team that's going to be competing in January for sure. Losing that game, and of course, the bigger problem than the loss, honestly, fundamentally, is losing the leader of your team. And that's what they did, losing Fred Warner. I haven't felt great ever since I saw and heard that. My thoughts about the season have gotten to be pretty grim. I'm starting to focus or try to focus more on fantasy because I do not see a light that involves the Niners going anywhere. Even if they were to win the division, the Eagles haven't really figured it out yet. You have Green Bay, Detroit, Tampa. They just lost to Tampa. I mean, so that those are teams that are up there, and I just have a hard time believing the Niners are going to be able to go either on the road or try and hold off any of those teams come January with as short of say short of staff, but like short of bodies that can really compete. But we'll see what happens, I guess. Go to fantasy. Fantasy. Yeah, so last week I lost with my Pocket Aces team by 8 points. Justin Fields proved that reading is optional at Ohio State, with whatever the hell you want to call what he did in London at Tottenham on Sunday. J.K. Dobbins was also in that game, and that was also a complete waste. Carl Granderson did absolutely nothing. So those three guys alone kind of sunk me. Kermit the Frog tried to save me along with Wagner, Tyke Smith for Tampa. Got productivity out of Kyron Williams, Lad McConkey, and Tet McMillan, but couldn't fade Steve with Jaden Daniels and Dakota Prescott, and getting great productivity out of all of his IDPs there. And my faithful to the Bay team, last week I got destroyed by like 30 points by the team that currently leads. The league is tied for the lead. It's a 3-way tie for the lead in the league right now. So now I'm a full 3 games back. So as Dan Hicks always likes to say, a full 5 shots behind. The one league that I'm doing well in is a league that I didn't even draft. So maybe that's a sign. And that was with me leaving Daniel Jones on the bench having Stafford, who basically did nothing, got no. You got Garrett Wilson, who had 13 yards on 3 receptions, and then Quinshon Judkins in that Pittsburgh game, began with Cleveland against Pittsburgh. Oh man, that was a great throw. Yeah, Pratt Fryermuth, look at that. That was a great throw there. So now it's still a game. I somehow or another and I lost or I won that game. Even, I mean, and that was more a case of he had 2 guys that are on the IR, active on his team, and the only guys who really scored were Jaden Daniels, George Pickens. So I'm just lucky I have a running back combo of Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor. You also have Lad McConkey and Laporta. So I left a lot of points on the bench. So interesting. But, how about you, Josh? I know for Jacksonville losing that game was rough, but still in the mix, still in the fight division-wise against the Rams. Or I mean the Colts.
Yeah, for us, I mean, yeah, taking a loss to Seattle, not the best, especially coming off the win from the Chiefs, but they were in it, in the fourth quarter, so hard to ask for more than that to be in a position to have that. But then once the fourth quarter came along, just the defense on Seattle tightened up again. I think third quarter, they were able to make some headway, got a touchdown to make it 20-12, but not able to do anything more than that. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence had 33 pressures on like 47 dropbacks, so over 50% of pressures there on the game, and then sacked 6 times there. So yeah, not great for Trevor, obviously, but bad an opportunity, and offensive line just wasn't able to hold on enough. I mean, he had plenty of throws where he's able to keep them in position there, but just wasn't able to make it happen. So, I mean, for me, yeah, going into next week or this weekend, I guess, for the LA Rams, I think for me, I think the Rams, if they are to beat the Rams, it would probably be more significant than defeating the 49ers or the Chiefs. Obviously, both those teams were really good, but I think because Jacksonville has based their offense or their playing staff, their offensive staff, general manager from LA, Liam Cohen, had a stint in LA. Definitely, I think if they are to defeat the Rams, it would be more significant from that point of view, because they're definitely influenced. A lot of their philosophies, play calling, influenced by the Rams, team building. Obviously, the whole forget them picks mentality from the Rams that Les Snead had adopted on their run to the Super Bowl. There. So definitely, I think James Gladstone trying to employ the same identity mentality there. Obviously, we've already seen him the weekend going into the weekend previous before they played the Seahawks, able to make a trade again with the Browns, swapping cornerbacks Greg Newsome or Tyson Campbell for Greg Newsome. So for Campbell, obviously just wasn't a fit in the scheme for the Jaguars. So Newsome, I guess, better in zone than Tyson there. So Tyson just didn't really have the ball skills. I think there was just too many plays where they were in zone coverage where he just wasn't able to keep track of the ball in the air and let the other receiver who he was covering pick up the reception there for however many yards there. So great tackler, though, just not able to figure out where the ball is a lot. So I think he's just better as a man corner. Obviously, Jags on defense got a zone coverage scheme there. So yeah, for Jags, there's still an opportunity for them to make a trade. They restructured some contracts over the weekend leading up to this game, and they've got a bye week after that. So the trade deadline, obviously, November 4. So they'll be looking to make a change or potentially add to them, potentially add a defensive line to them. Obviously, I think the difference between when you look at what the Seahawks were able to do offensively versus the Jags, obviously Jags had a lot of pressure get affected by the offense or that the offense was affected by. I think defensively, they just weren't really able to get to Sam Darnold as much. It slowed down in the third quarter, and they were able to start getting to him by design blitzes. But they were able to kind of get themselves to that lead by not really having a ton of pressure on Sam Darnold. So they can find a defensive tackle who can generate pressure up the middle to help free up space for Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. I think that would definitely be beneficial there. So I don't think the Jaguars are quite done yet in making trades here. So look for them probably potentially to be buyers here leading up into the trade deadline. So we'll see what they're able to do there. So looking forward to seeing what moves they have up in store for them there. So yeah, I think otherwise for me, fantasy, when we talked about it beforehand, you defeated me back in week 5, week 6, took an L versus Joe in our league. So yeah, I mean, to me, I mean, it's hard to be mad at scoring 196, 210 or whatever in this league, but you went out and scored like 230, and I think Joe scored like 225 or 228. So yeah, just being on the unfortunate end of people just having monster games. Obviously last week, Cam Scattaboo, 38 points in our league. Bijan Robinson scoring 45. So just, hard to go up against that there. And I mean, I felt like I had a solid game otherwise. I mean, Deebo Samuel didn't really have a great game. But that would have, whatever he did on Monday night would have been enough to close the gap more than likely, unless he had just a stellar monster game where he got like, 4 touchdowns or something like that. So, yeah, that was, sucks. I guess I probably shouldn't have lost to Manny back in week 4 or whatever, because that definitely set me back there. And that was a close one. So I probably could have started Deebo Samuel there, and that would have won me the game for that one. So, which in terms of tiebreakers, obviously, 4th place in terms of points scored. So if I had won that matchup, it'd be 3-3 right now, and then I would put me in 3rd place because I would own the tiebreakers, though, because our league, we've got 1st and 2nd at 4-1 and 5-1 and 4 or 5-1. So, but then everybody else is tied up at 3-3 before you get to me at 8th place at 2-4. So, that's a swing of 5 spots there. So, we'll have to get back to it this week and hopefully get a better result here. So we'll see how that goes. And then for my other league, barely, had probably the lowest output I've ever had in wins, scoring only 70 points, but managed to get out that win over my opponent, scored like 68. So we're 3-3 in that league. So not as good there, but and it's chipping away at wins there. So we'll see. But the good thing about our league is that it's highly competitive, and it's easy to have a good bounce back game fantasy wise. So we'll see how that goes there after 2-0 starting out. Looking at 2-4 here. So definitely can get back into it soon and hopefully quickly. So we'll see there. But yeah, it should be interesting here, I guess, this weekend in terms of fantasy with lots of opportunity across the weekend in all the games.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes, how teams get through. Because I mean, there's also you have Buffalo and Baltimore on the bye, so everybody who has Josh Allen, James Cook, Derrick Henry, amongst others, those are people that you're going to have to sub for on your team and make up for those key points. So it's something that you'll have to go and compensate for there. Okay, so let us move to the Bathurst 1000 Repco Supercars Championship. Oh wow, Triple Eight that's interesting. Wow. Expands Supercars squad to 3 Fords. SCT's operated out of BJR since 2020. SCT Motorsports will take its operations. Oh, so Kernan Will Brown, 11 Fords, 8 Chevys, and 5 Toyotas. Wow. Interesting. Walkinshaw, bad CGI work that they did on the ad. Andrew Jack Smith, Jackson Evans, SCT parting ways out of SCT Brown, Andrew Jones, nephew Brad, heads of SCT's motorsport program. So that's a big ride. Opening up for late in this in the season there for people as they killed Heimer touchdown. So there was a thought that they would get that combination, but okay. We'll get back to the main point, which was the Bathurst Grove Supercars finals field. Yeah, that's like the new playoff format, the Supercars finals, which saw Matthew Payne and Garth Tanda in the Penrite Racing Ford get the victory at the Bathurst 1000, win the Endurance Cup in the process. With his victory in the points he gained, Payne moved up to second in points in the playoff behind the regular season champion Brock Feeney. Then you had Will Brown, the defending series champion, Cam Waters, Brody Kostecki, Chaz Mostert, Anton Di Pasquale, Thomas Randall, Ryan Wood, and Kai Allen, Matthew Payne's teammate at Penrite, making the top 10. Cameron Hill and Andre Heimgardner fell 3 points short after what has been a long season long regular season and the Endurance Cup races too. So insane to think that came down to 3 points right at the end of the Bathurst 1000. But we'll go into the race itself. I mean, a lot of carnage, a lot of issues took place. It was a majority rain race. So it was very difficult. Brody Kostecki qualified on his third consecutive pole for the Bathurst 1000 and was leading early, but there was issues for him in the race and then with pitting as well. the Penrite car, the two Penrite cars sandwiched, what was it, 6 whole Chevrolets. Payne and Tander, the winners, over David Reynolds and Lee Holt. James Golding and David Russell. Golding got penalized for moving. I think he spun he spun out. I'm trying to remember who he spun out late. Cost him an opportunity. I think it was, yeah, so I'm trying to remember offhand who he spun out. But got penalized, lost time, finished third, still was able to maintain third. Cooper Murray was fourth, Cameron Hill was fifth, Brock Feeney, Jamie Whincup sixth, Andre Heimgardner and Declan Frazier was seventh, Kai Allen, Dale Wood eighth, Aaron Cameron, Zach Best was ninth, and then Craig Lowndes and Zach Bates. Craig Lowndes in his last race for Triple Eight finished 10th. So we'll see what happens on the Gold Coast to start the whatever what they call the playoff, the Supercars Finals series. So we'll see how that goes. At Petit Le Mans for IMSA, see if I have IMSA. I need to make something that identifies these things easier. Don't have that. I never do. Need to remove that. And remove that. What is that? Oh, let's fuck that. And then yeah, remove that. And it still doesn't bring up IMSA even though I bring it up all the time. Alright. Then we're going to Travail and Team Weather Tech. Team Tonus. Rebranded 13 Motorsports. Oh, so Orly for Donnie. Oh, so AWA. Okay. All right. What was the AWA team? All right. Let's see. Yeah. So Motul Petit Le Mans saw the Jack Aiken, Earl Bamba, and Frederick Vesti Whelen Engineering Cadillac team win the Motul Petit Le Mans over the Aston Martin, Valkyrie, Ross Gunn, Roman DeAngelis, Alex Riberos by 5.18 seconds. The Penske Porsche number 6 of Jaminet, Campbell, and Vantor finished third. And then the Lamborghini, which will be their last race for the foreseeable future, with Grosjean, Mortara, and Kvyat, finished fourth. 6 cars were on the lead lap. Tom Blomqvist, Colin Braun, Scott Dixon with the Acura Meyer Shank 60, Ricky Taylor, Philippe Albuquerque, Will Stevens, and the Cadillac Wayne Taylor number 10. Last car on the lead lap there. Seth Thomas, Mikkel Jensen, Hunter McElroy for TDS Racing wins LMP2 over the Inter Europol. Dillman, Garg, and Clark, and then the Lutke, David Heimar, Hansen, Oliver Jarvis, Era Motorsports. Number 18, Logan Sargent, Benjamin Peterson, Rao, and the PR1 Matheson car, last car on the lead lap in class. The Paul Miller Racing, number 48, of Hesse, Harper, and De Filippi. The BMW gets the win over the number 4 Corvette of Milner, Katzberg, and Verone, and then their teammates, Garcia, Sims, and Juncadella. And then in GTD, the Simon Mann, Wadu, Lilo Wadu, Alexander Perguidi, Ferrari for AF Corsa beats the fellow Ferrari of Triarci, Kenton Cook, and James Collado. And then the third place was Jack Hawksworth, Frankie Montecalvo, Parker Thompson, and the Vassar Sullivan Lexus to round out the results there. The points, overall points, and then the Michelin Endurance Cup, Jaminet and Campbell win the Drivers' Championship in GTP. Manufacturers, Porsche wins the Manufacturers' Championship. In LMP2, Dane Cameron and PJ Hyatt get the win the championship by 100 over Seth Thomas. NAO Racing wins the team's championship over TDS Racing. Alexander Sims and Antonio Garcia get the championship in drivers and GTD Pro. And Corvette Racing gets teams over Dragon Speed, and Chevrolet manufacturers over BMW. GTD, Philip Ellis Russell Ward had blocked up the championship pretty much and confirmed it on Saturday. And what is it called? Windward Racing Team over Harder Racing, and then Vassar Sullivan. And the Mercedes getting the Manufacturers' Championship over Ferrari there. In Michelin Endurance Cup, GTP drivers, Nasser and Tandy get the win there over the Wheel and Engineering trio, who was a point behind. Then Colin Brown was 2 points back. Matthew Jaminet, Matt Campbell, and Braun and Blomqvist were tied with Jaminet and Campbell for third. Then the manufacturers, the Porsche, Penske's were first and third over Cadillac, Wheeling Cadillac team in second, Meyershank and tied for third. And then McElroy, Jensen, and Thomas tied with Bejoy Garg and Tom Dillman for the provisional. Yeah, Porsche won the manufacturers. Inter-Europol TDS tied for, I don't know what the tiebreaker was on that. Dan Harper, Max Hesse get the championship in GTD Pro over their teammates Madison Snow, Neil Verhagen, and then Connor De Filippi, who raced with them. Then in GTD, Alexander Perguidi, Lilo Wadu, Simon Mann get the all tied or win over Brendan Uribe, Frederick Shandorf, and Ollie Milroy. They have Corsa 21 over the Inception Racing 70 there, and then Ferrari well ahead of Lexus. All right, let's move on to NHRA, which was at Dallas, and essentially was a domination for a lot of the riders or drivers that were already up front. Doug Coletta getting the win in Top Fuel over Steve Torrance. And Langdon lost to his teammate after qualifying number 1. Coletta beat Jasmine Salinas, Ida Zederstrom, Langdon, and Torrens. Torrens had come from the number 7 spot, beat Josh Hart, Sean Reed, Brittany Force on his way to the final. Tony Stewart lost in round 1 to Clay Milliken. In Funny Car, Austin Prock for the number 1 spot gets the victory, beat Blake Alexander, Spencer Hyde, Chad Green, and Ron Capps. Capps had went from the number 2 spot, beat Alex Laughlin, Cruz Pentragon, and Daniel Wilkerson on his way to the final. Then in Pro Stock, Dallas Glenn from the number 3 spot beat Cody Coughlin, Eric Latino, Jed Coughlin, and then Aaron Stanfield. Aaron Stanfield beat Eric Enders. Matt Hartford and Anderson on his way to the final. And then Richard Gadsden, who's picked up his pace and picked up his productivity in recent races, goes from the number 1 spot, beat Lance Bonham, Clayton Howie, Matt Smith, which was a big one, the semis, and then beats his teammate Braden Davis in the final. Braden Davis was with number 3 qualifier, beat Ryan Ayler, John Hall, and teammate Gage Herrera in the semis. The standings with 2 races to go. Doug Coletta, 141-point lead on Justin Ashley, and 159 on Sean Langdon. After that, it's going to be basically impossible without him failing to qualify. Proc is 112 ahead of Matt Hagan and 131 ahead of Jack Beckman. Ron Capps is under 49 points back. Pro Stock, Glenn is 60 points out of Greg Anderson. Then Pro Stock Motorcycle, Gadsden, 72 points out of Gage Herrera and 105 ahead of Matt Smith for that championship. And then Josh Hart, who sold off his program and that got bought out by Elite, which is essentially taking that over and is going to run Tony Stewart next year. Josh Hart will be driving the John Forster Racing Top Fuel car next year. I'm not sure what the sponsorship or what the plan but that will be, but Josh Hart will be taking over for Brittany Force. Interesting to see what he'll do with why am I forgetting? David Grubnick and company there in terms of that team. They ran, the Johnny Ray's last weekend in World Superbike after a legendary career. Estoril last week saw Toprak Rasgatlioku win race 1 and the Super Pole race. Nicola Balega winning race 2 after finishing second in race 1 in the Super Bowl. Batista finishing third in all 3. Balega is 39 points behind Rasgatlioku, trying to prevent him from another World Superbike title on the way out to MotoGP. Something here. Garrett Gerloff 15th in points, 3 points out of Ray, 10 points out of Scott Redding, 4 points behind Iker Lackawanna. No need to have an epic weekend to do anything of that. The WRC will be the Central European rally. Sebastian Ogier has an early lead in that after a couple of stages. The standings, championship standings at the moment, see Sebastian Ogier after currently lead the drivers' points by 2 over teammate Efren Evans. Cali Rovampera is 21 points back in third. He announced that he's going to be going to Super Formula next year to go and try and ply his trade in open wheel racing, and eventually with the hope of going to Formula One. Tanak, the best of the rest, at fourth. Defending world champion, fifth. And then MotoGP, Moto2 are at Phillip Island. Of course, what's it called? Marquez out. Mark Marquez out. So the trying to go out there, and he's already won the championship, so it doesn't really matter. So the Alex Marquez, of course, battling for second in points over Pecco Bagnaia. Marco Bezzecchi trying to battle for third, only 20 points back of Bagnaia. Acosta in a battle with Morbidelli for fifth in points. DJ Antonio over Aldeguer, who's coming off of his first career victory. Quartararo and Zarco rounding out your top 10. They're in MotoGP and Moto2. You have scroll by it, I think. Yeah, Joe Roberts 14th in points. Marcos Ramirez, his teammate, 2 points ahead. Roberts is only 6 points out of the top 10 at the moment. So possibility next few rounds to get into that. Yeah, it's been a very wide open year in Moto2 there. And oh man, completely forgot about that. My fault. Phillip Island. And yeah, so Josh will get back to regular programming, and we have to talk about the U.S. Grand Prix Formula One at COTA. McLaren has fallen off in recent races, but they're still up there. We've seen some other people, other teams out there trying to make a dent, but I mean, of course, the constructors is over, so now it's a straight fight between the two drivers for the championship. Max Verstappen doesn't have any interference in regards to what he wants to do for the championship. And they have a sprint race this weekend, so F1 US Grand Prix at COTA. I am going to say that Fish Lips wins with Piastri and Norris rounding out the podium. My wild card pick will not be Lewis. It'll be teammate of the smooth operator, Albon, getting a top 6 finish this weekend. What do you think, Josh, in regards to your picks for the U.S. Grand Prix?
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna stick with. I think McLaren gets back in it on the U.S. Grand Prix. I think Oscar Piastri wins the USGP. Second, Max Verstappen, and third, go with George Russell.
And Russell, of course, Reese finally gets a contract. It took a while for them. I guess they're hedging on Verstappen, but that's why it took a while, I think. But he gets re-signed back for next year after what is arguably his best season of his career. So he's earned that opportunity. Truck Series will race the Arlows or Love's RV Stop 225 at Talladega. 36 for 36, nobody going home. You have new entry list set up. So it's kind of like what I used to write in my notebook in the back during class because I was bored. You got Brett Holmes driving the Tricon #1. Nathan Bird with Young's. Of course, Young's Motorsports over the years has had some great results at Talladega. Reininger, Uncle Norm, JJ Ailey in the #7 Spire truck. Chris Wrong driving for McAnally Hilgeman. Jason White. Frankie Muniz returning this week for Rayum. Greg Van Alst driving for himself. Luke Van House in the 66. Tyler Tomasi in the MBM 69 truck, which Casey Mears is going to be field driving the following week to make his 600th NASCAR start in top 3 series. Caleb Costner for Harmon's team. Parker Kligerman for Henderson. Corey LaJoy in the 77. Connor Mozak for that's he's not going to be there next year. Hackwood, Ty Majeski, and Ben Rhodes. So, Josh, you get first picks here. And then also I'll throw back to you for I'll make my pick and then I'll throw back to you for the algorithm, unless you wanted to do both at once.
I'll let you go for that part. But
Okay.
yeah, for me, let's see. I'm gonna go. Yeah, this is the Truck Series. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say that Daniel Hemrick goes out and gets the win here this weekend, and I'm gonna pick as my wild card. Pick I'll just take Parker as my wild card. So
Yeah, it's a good choice. The guy's really, really good at super speedway racing. Almost got a one-handed catch there. Jamar Chase. For me, I am going to go with I am going to go with Grant Enfinger as my win choice, and I really want to pick Nathan Bird just because of the Young's Motorsports, and also for, oh my God, that Joe Flacco is running. And then my wild card pick will be JJ Ailey, because why not? So that's Phil goes Grant Enfinger. Tate Fogleman Algorithm says, let it be Frankie Muniz.
It says a Ford, but it's not Frankie Muniz. It picked Ty Majeski, the 98, to go this weekend. I also, so while we've been talking here this show, I also went to Chat GPT and wanted to see what it would come up with. And, I gave it the entry list and said this race for the Truck Series should have a higher amount of randomness than usual for a super speedway race, because the Truck Series has the lowest skill level of all the top 3 series in NASCAR, and it's led to low tier drivers. I mentioned Tate Fogleman winning a race after several wrecks on the final lap of the 2021 Truck Series race at Talladega, yada yada yada, and spit out some stuff and said after running the simulation with the adjusted parameters, the straight up pick for the truck race at Talladega is Grant Enfinger. So ChatGPT gave a very reasonable analysis here and says Grant Enfinger will win this weekend. Enhanced Tate Fogleman.
So I went and put that addendum to the TFA. I put the Chat GPT addendum there, so it's a hedge for us on that.
Yeah.
For the sanctity of the TFA, we should make sure any and all opportunities to make it last exist. So if that means that Grant Enfinger gets picked twice, then so be it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, for that part, I mean, we'll do this for the other 2 races as well. So
Okay. All right. So we'll go to the United Rentals 250, Xfinity 38 for 38. Nobody going home. We get Nick Lights, whatever. There's Brennan Queen in the Colleague 11. Smithley got Almirola in the 19. Excuse me. Jordan Anderson driving for himself in the 32. David Starr, what is he, like 100? Driving the 35. Josh Williams driving the 45 for Alpha Prime. Joey Gage driving for himself in 53. Honeyman, who struggled last week and finished last, actually driving a Wawa vehicle. Makes sense. He's from Jersey. Ellis, there, 74. I don't know who it said. Did it say anything for number 74? No. Mason Maggio in the 90. Connor Mozak. They're running a 0. Yeah, the 5 will be Baccarella. Connor Mozak's taking over the 99 for the last 3 races of the season from D Burrito. I'll go first here. My pick will be Jesse Love. My wild card selection will be it's hard to pick that, I guess, but I will go with I'll choose the yeah, I'll just choose Anthony Alfredo. Why not? So Xfinity at Talladega. Phil says Jesse Love to win, and my God, they're making Pat Fryermuth look like freaking Kellen Winslow out there. Christ. Are they allergic to coverage? Like, it's just unbelievable. And my wild card pick is Anthony Alfredo. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that Connor Zilic comes back to Talladega. It's where this whole run started, wins here to lock himself in to the championship 4 here. So as if he wasn't already locked in, so I'll pick him. And wild card, we'll go with Ryan Sieg. He's always the guy who can run up front here.
Yeah. Sieg, wild card. I have to edit that. So while I'm editing the picks, gives you time to run the Tate Fogleman algorithm.
Yeah, Tate Fogleman algorithm selects Jeremy Clements. So here, yeah, that's where the randomness comes in. So yeah, Tate Fogleman says Jeremy Clements, and then same thing for Chat GPT says that Sammy Smith will win this weekend.
Well, I mean, Jeremy Clemens has won at Daytona before.
Yep. That's true,
always,
yes.
and he's someone that you just never can count out in some of these kind of spots when things get kind of wonky. And then Sammy Smith, of course, won last year. So at Talladega. So it's not all solid so far, I gotta say. Nothing too insane has gone on here with these picks. Series at Talladega. Josh, you get first dibs here on who to pick for the wait a minute to go through the Yellow Wood 500 40 for 40. You have the 4 open cars are Hank Hill and Anthony Alfredo for Beard Motorsports, Casey Mears for the MBM Garage 66, and BJ McLeod driving for himself and Live Fast Motorsports. So yeah, Josh, you get first dibs on this.
Yeah, for me, go ahead and pick YRB Ryan Blaney. Go out here and win, lock himself here into the championship 4 here at Talladega here, and then wild card. We'll go with trying to look here. There's a lot of guys I can pick here. I'll go with Josh Berry here on Super Speedway. Go here and be a wild card.
Okay. Yeah. Be
It's forward.
different one, two Fords. For me, I'm gonna go and try to hedge with popularity, even though you did pick the real most popular driver. I'm gonna pick William Clyde Elliott II to win the race at Talladega and lock himself in to win. And my wild card is gonna be Zane Smith, because he's been running much better recently. Todd Gilliland would have been another option, but I just like how Zane Smith's been running recently. And Front Row Motorsports has a great history at Talladega. Now it's time for the TFA and Chat GPT to tell us what they think is going to happen on Sunday.
Yeah, for Tate Fogleman, he says that Chase Elliott's going to win this weekend here, Talladega, and last but not least, Chat GPT says another Hendrick car is going to win, and that'd be Kyle Larson, which is interesting here, pick by it, but nonetheless, the algorithms pick two Hendrick cars.
And to be fair for Larson, he said that he was as positive as I think he's ever been going to a super speedway race, talking about his chances after Vegas. So it's something that would have been insane to think, but it's entirely possible. So now I could say that the algorithm I picked in similar as algorithm on two of the three picks, which is pretty crazy to say. So we'll see what happens with that. Josh, it's your time to talk about all things iRacing gaming in the sim segment. What's going on in the world of technological one.
Yeah, of course. For me, I mean, obviously, iRacing this week is at Talladega, NASCAR, Xfinity, and Truck and Cup Series. So, yeah, the focus will probably be on there. Probably run a couple of races, at least Cup and Xfinity, maybe a truck race on Talladega this weekend. Wow. And for me, of course, for iRacing this past week, did a little bit of Las Vegas, ran top 5 and Xfinity, or top 6, I think, so that was good. Crashed out late in the Cup race that I ran there, and I think I did a couple of MX or Toyota GR86 races at Laguna Seca there and ran top 5 there, so inching closer to the Class A license on the roadside here. Got a couple of races GT3 wise, because I think so I guess to mimic real life, I think there is a 8-hour race at Indianapolis this weekend in the Fanatec GT Challenge show. I think to reflect that, iRacing's got a couple of GT3 races here on the Indianapolis road course at in Indy, so there's a handful of 40-minute and 30-minute races here on the Indianapolis road course. I may do some of those to try to get closer to picking up that A-class license on the sports car side there, so looking forward to that. Of course, running a bunch of Talladega on iRacing, as I like to do. Of course, a couple weeks ago, won in the 87 car there on last lap move on a restart there, so that was good there. And of course, the big news in NASCAR gaming this week has been the release of NASCAR 25. Of course, lots of content creators coming out with video of it and showing gameplay and stuff. It looks interesting, of course, and definitely looking forward to playing it. Still, I mean, I was talking with Joe about it, and looks like he's been playing. I saw his Discord and said he was playing it on Xbox. So have to get with him and see what he thinks. I have not gotten it yet, but that's because my PlayStation's still out of commission. So I'm trying to get that fixed. Bought some new power supply for it, so installed that and still didn't turn on. So might have to take it somewhere and see if we can get it repaired. Trying to avoid straight buying a new console because I don't really want to do that. So think it still could be fixed. Probably just a short somewhere on the circuit board that they're gonna have to go and resolder and everything with capacitor or something like that. So we'll see how that goes, but and hopefully you can get that fixed so I can play NASCAR 25. Because if I do, I'd like to probably try to give a review of it or some kind on there. Try to give my opinion on it, but it does look pretty good from what I've seen. I mean, seen some things with the AI. I don't know, if you run long, like on a full length, like fuel run, how does the AI react to that? Some of the crashes do look kind of randomized there, especially the AI just like spinning out at random. But I think a lot of times it does kind of mimic the randomness that does occur a lot of times here, especially late race cautions. Especially in NASCAR. So I do think there is a bit of realism there. Does look like the damage model could have used more work. It doesn't look like I guess things crumple as realistically as what you'd expect. But I think overall it does seem like it's a solid piece for console gaming for people who aren't able to be as serious into sim racing, obviously, like I am. Don't have the the ability to go out and get a wheel or dedicated PC there. There's always the ability to just grab your controller and play that way. So which is obviously that's how I learned growing up, playing on PlayStation for the EA NASCAR games there. So hopefully this pans out well, and which obviously looks like a lot of people are entertained by it. So hopefully people get it and they can download the game and play, and hopefully that'll help the fan base in that regard expand on that note. So definitely looking forward to playing it whenever I am able to get to it. So the other big thing on iRacing this weekend or this past week is they released the demo for this game called iRacing Arcade. So it looks like a PC and I think it will be released on console arcade version of iRacing. So looks like that got released as a demo. So probably will be looking at playing that at some point. Kind of looks like a Mario Kart type version of iRacing as well. So should be fun to play if you want to be more of the even more casual than NASCAR 25, which is I think probably going to be towards kind of the same crowd that plays Gran Turismo on console, or NFL or NBA 2K on console, be playing NASCAR 25. But I think for even more casual that just kind of want that Mario type crowd, I think iRacing Arcade will be appropriate for that crowd. So definitely looking towards something like that, potentially getting that as well. So that's sim racing this week, of course, as Evan McPherson goes and gets that one there. So for me, of course, probably be looking at Talladega here on iRacing, of course. Stream that at Twitch TV/usailor2. So go on there and watch that. Of course, eventually try to hook up the PlayStation to run Twitch there, which I think you can, or somehow figure out a way to do that. So we'll see how that works. But when it comes time for that, we'll do that as well for NASCAR 25. And then, of course, Twitter page at JP Huffine, and of course, the YouTube page at Gripster Podcast on there, and then of course photography at Josh Huffine Photography on Instagram there. So looking forward to this weekend here at Talladega, and we'll see how how everything runs, and we'll see who's the next guy to get into the championship four here this weekend, and of course all the exciting football matchups that we have on the weekend as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And can also see in the world of college football who gets fired next in terms of head coaches.
Hopefully UF.
Yeah, I know that there's a couple guys in Florida that are probably looking at likely scenarios of not having employment. Kirk Signetti just broke off for $90 million, preventing um, the very sexy Trisha Whitaker from going and chaining herself to a fence, trying to prevent him from leaving. So that would have been interesting to look at for sure for her students too at the University of Indiana. You can find me at PGMGSP28 on Instagram, PGMatthew28 on Twitter. Find the Grip Strip Podcast, of course, on our YouTube page, as Josh mentioned, and at Grip Strip Podcast on Twitter, GSP1428 on YouTube, and then PhilipGMatthew.com and Podbean.com. So for Josh, I'm Phil. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week, episode 288. They did get us timings up there, but it'll be very difficult. They need a few more yards to see if they can go and make this happen. But for Josh, I'm Phil. Thanks for listening to Grip Strip Podcast, and we'll see you next time.